In the popular nonfiction novel For the Time Being, author Annie Dillard implements the motif of redemption to call humanity to take control of their own lives, remain interconnected with others, and to be a conduit for God's light in a world of darkness. Redemption is the action of saving or being saved from sin, error, or evil. Redemption is often connected to religion through salvation, absolution, Christ, and God's saving grace. Throughout, for the time being, religion is widely explored, with the text having numerous references to the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, as well as the religious philosophy of panentheism, among others. These intertwining beliefs all work to illustrate Dillard's perception of the world, faith, and individuals' responsibilities.
Annie Dillard emphasizes the motif of redemption by focusing on the importance of individual responsibility. Dillard conveys this through calls to action, such as bringing goodness to the world, serving others, and being God's vessel to illuminate the world with his light. On page 141, you do not deny or flee the world, but redeem it, all of it, just as it is. Dillard is saying we need to accept that, yes, the world can be cruel, but we have the capability and responsibility to fix trials or at least make the situations better. She uses the device periodic sentence in this quote to emphasize its importance and necessity. She also says in the line before, this task is restoration, proving the intensity of desired goodness in our ever-changing world. Dillard impresses the belief that this is specifically our responsibility and duty when stating on page 201, God entrusts and allots to everyone an area to redeem this creased and feeble life. So even though life is very imperfect, flawed, and fragile, Dillard believes God has given us specific responsibilities to fix certain aspects of the world and people's lives. Dillard also uses a simile on page 202 that depicts our spiritual responsibility, comparing it to that of a host for God. In our hands, the hands of all of us, the world and life, our world, our life, are placed like a host, ready to be charged with the divine influence. This simile reveals it is our duty to redeem others through God's divine influence because we have our world and our lives in our hands. We are responsible for ourselves, which affects the lives of others, such as when Dillard describes the children with defects. She mentions that they all can and do give love and receive love, as these children's mothers did, page 5. Taking care of these children and redeeming their quality of life by loving them was the individual responsibility of these mothers. Dillard wants her readers to know that the redemption is key to life, and the way we accomplish this is by accepting and acting upon our individual responsibilities.
Within the motif of redemption, Dillard also places a focus on the concept of humans remaining interconnected with both people in their life and strangers. This is shown through references to having people save each other and redeem the world for more than themselves, but for generations to come and all others still alive. This is shown in a quote on page 161. Often in a church I have thoughts that while there is scant hope for me, I can ask God to strengthen the holiness of all these good people here. What if we are all praying for one another in the hope that others are holy when we are not? This portrays prayer as connecting people to each other rather than God to find holiness in themselves by praying for other people. On page 197, quoting Isaac Fortgang of Boston, it is said in the Bible that to save a life is to save the entire world, with the following religious reference to the Jewish Mishnah. This biblical allusion emphasizes the idea that humans saving one another is important in a global and spiritual context. This human interdependence and presence opposes Dillard's portrayal of God as exiled or abandoning, expressed in the contrast to the grand coincidence that brings us together, described in the anecdotes on page 162, highlighting the need for saving others and acting with compassion.
The motif of redemption coincides with Dillard's focus on religion and divine authority. In most religions, redemption is the restoration of holiness and purity. The idea is clearly illustrated through the now subsection in chapter 7. He who prays and sings in holiness, eats and speaks in holiness, and in holiness reflects upon his business, through him the sparks that have fallen will be uplifted, and the worlds which have fallen will be delivered and renewed. In other words, once we are redeemed from evil and sin, we are able to restore goodness in the world and be a beacon for divinity for others. The belief that divinity resides in all living things and holiness can be restored throughout the world as a whole is referred to as panentheism. Dillard explains the concept as a God that redeems both us and our speck of the world. All in all, Dillard wants to convey that we are all capable of goodness and that we do not have to live in a world where we are unable to be freed from sin, as redemption is a universal opportunity.
In conclusion, Dillard includes the motif of redemption to urge readers to take control of their own lives, connect with the lives of others, and realize the divinity within themselves. This acts as a call to action as she emphasizes that humans currently living aren't removed from nature and other people, but present and alive for the time being.